Southwest Florida. You're looking live at the Christmas in the Park celebration 2019 here at Clemente Park, covered by the community press and Jackie's photos as well. Of course, I'm Lee Pitts, and we're here, Johnny, on the spot to cover the kids tonight. It's all about the kids and the people who've been involved with children. We got bounce houses around in the park. We're the early stages. The lights will go down later on tonight. The Christmas tree that we'll show you later will be lit. You have performances on the stage you might see behind us now. And it's just a spectacular setting for a wonderful night when they'll show the Star Wars movie. Speaking of children, there's none more popular or well-known, it's certainly to me, the best educator I've ever met in my life. She's the former principal for Lee Charter Academy. Now she's a retired. I'm thrilled to have here Dr. Shirley Chapman. Welcome to Lee Pitts Live, Dr. Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be here.
And I'm just thrilled and always excited to get you on the show. Looking forward to getting Darlene Mitchell later on, the great vocalist and choir director. My next interview standing right there. Darlene, that's my little boy. You see how he's grown? Yeah, remember when he was little? He's 10. He's just 10, that big, bigger than you. Brandon, I need you to stay over here working, bro. Anyway, Dr. Chapman, first of all, have you ever been to one of these Christmas in the Parks before?
Yes, I try to support the children.
What's your overall thought of having this activity right here in Dunbar and Clemente Park every year and lighting that Christmas tree?
I think it's just wonderful. It's really wonderful to see children come together and just enjoy one another. This keeps a lot of children out of trouble and all of that. And they just learn to, once you fellowship together, you learn to love each other, and you'll find out you'll have less of the strife.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like these children really enjoying this, and the community really rallies around it. And they have a lot of free things out here going on. And it's great to have this type of social atmosphere, like you said, in our community. Now, I introduced you with a lot of superlatives as the greatest educator that I've ever met, especially as it relates to middle and elementary school children. I know you work with all levels, but that's what I saw you do your thing on. Okay, so when I saw you at Lee Charter Academy, was Lee Charter Academy going to high school yet, or was it just stopping at middle school?
No, we had planned for it to stop at middle school.
Okay, so you were like kindergarten to 8th grade there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not. This is not an unusual place for you to be, surrounded by a bunch of children. You're so comfortable around children. Tell us how you first got the whole desire to be an educator.
You know, I had no intentions of becoming an educator.
Okay.
I was doing business. That was my aspiration, business.
Okay.
And my mother kept nagging me about getting this 4-year degree, and I had graduated already from Edison. It's now FSW. And so I said, well, the easiest thing I could do is go ahead and get a degree, because USF had an extension here in Fort Myers.
Okay.
So I went there. And when I was interning, I interned at Tice Elementary School, a 4th grade little petite teacher. And when I interned, she said to me, Shirley, she said, I have a young man here that I have not been able to reach. She said, and I would like to challenge you to reach him. And so I started observing him, and he had the best penmanship of anybody in the class. He was an introvert. He stayed to himself, and he was never any problem. And so one day I just started sort of talking to him and complimenting his writing, and asked him what did he really like to do. And he said, I love to play football. I said, oh, and so where do you play? And he told me where he played at Billy Bowled's, and he said, I'm going to be playing this Saturday. And he was some kind of shocked to look up and see me coming out there that Saturday. And I saw him touching these adults, and I guess he was pointing out to his parents, that's my teacher that's in the room, that's my teacher that's in the room. And that's how I got involved with him and turned him around. And so that and one other thing. Her name was Stella Bailey. She said, Shirley, if your mind is not thoroughly made up on becoming a teacher, you don't want to go to the teacher's lounge with me, because that's where I eat lunch. And I decided that wherever she goes, I'm going, because in her class were some of the school board members' children, and the principal's child was in there, so I knew she was a good teacher. And sure enough, I went in there. And to listen to how some of the teachers actually felt about some of the students, I was wondering myself, well, why in the world are they in education?
Right.
She had told me,
They had negative views.
she said, if I felt like some of the teachers feel, I'd get my belongings and I'd leave today.
I got you.
And so that's what motivated me. I realized that children needed somebody that cared.
Fascinating story, people. That's a fascinating story. If any teachers out there right now, you're in that teacher's lounge and you're having a negative opinion about the students, you need to get out of the profession, right?
That's right. That's right. I had one teacher to say in the meeting, not that time, but when I was teaching at Franklin Park Elementary, she said, you know, when I drive my car through the fence, I get a headache and it doesn't leave me until I drive out in the afternoon. And I said, well, why do you keep driving your car through the fence? Why don't you find another school to go to? And at that time, Dr. Lutz was the elementary education person down in the district. And so he came over to have a meeting at Franklin Park, because we were beginning to do a lot of turning things around for children in a positive way. And I said to him, Dr. Lutz, if we have somebody that does not want to be here, would you be willing to allow them to go someplace else? He said, absolutely. And I said to her, this is your opportunity. And sure enough, she did leave.
Isn't that something? Now, there's a saying that when white people get a cold, when something happens and white people catch a cold, black people get the pneumonia or the flu. So I'm saying that to say that if those teachers were talking like that in that lounge, what does that say about the impact of that on the less appreciated children, the blacks, minorities, and low-income children, if they feel that way?
They don't stand a chance.
That's right.
They don't stand a chance, and that's
Tell it
the
like
reason.
it really is, Dr. Chapman.
That's the reason that I'm still in the struggle. My husband said I work more now than I did when I was getting paid. But these children need to know that somebody cares, and that's why I've said to Dr. Atkins and anybody else that will listen, they need more diversity in these schools. We have a large percentage of minorities students, and the staff need to reflect that, because these children need somebody to care, because children don't care what you know until they know you care.
Now, what is your advice to the school district on how to get more diverse? I mean, when I say that, I'm saying that school districts all across the United States face that challenge. So what are some key things they can do to work towards getting more diversity in terms of teachers, administrators, and so on?
I think they're beginning to work at it. I think that they're beginning to realize that they need more diversity. But what you've got to do, if you really want that, is those that you have, you need to show.
Hey, Amber, bring your kids by next.
Those that you have, you need to show that you are serious and you are sincere. Because we have a lot of people that are right here in the district that are qualified and ready to move up and move on, and they're not given the opportunity.
Right.
So they have got to be given the opportunity.
We got some right here.
That's why we have started inclusion and diversity with Mr. Jared Edie. We're trying to impact and make a difference, because our children are worth saving. We have a lot of brilliant, bright children, but you've got to be able to meet them on their level and be sure that you know what it takes to help them move up.
Now let's say on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, you get where you satisfied, the NAACP is satisfied, you are satisfied, the community can be satisfied that we are where we need to be in terms of those things that you just enunciated. Where are we right now on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest?
Somewhere between 3 and 4.
Oh my goodness. 3 and 4.
Somewhere between 3 and 4. We're not even at the halfway mark, and we need to stop fooling ourselves that we are.
Okay, so now we have a Or give me some examples why we're not there, why we're at 3 or 4.
Because, first of all, you can't lead where you won't go. And you can't teach what you don't know. So we have a lot of teachers, when you finish 4 years in a college and you walk out of that and come into a classroom, you're really not quite ready yet. You've just gotten the academics down. Now you need to have some understanding and sensitivity in working with children. So that's one reason, because we need more of that. That's number one. Number
But you can't
two,
get that until you do it.
That's
right.
right.
By doing it. Go
right?
ahead.
And number two, administrators need to have been outstanding teachers. You know, you have to teach so long anyway, supposedly, before you get to be an administrator. But to walk out of college into a position, and when you look up and now you're the administrator, are you able to get in and work with these children that are struggling? You know, when I taught 5th grade to have children that's walking in my class reading on a 2nd grade level, they needed to learn. They needed somebody with sensitivity to help them do it without belittling them. And we need to have teachers stop feeling sorry for children and realize, no, we just need to work with them and get them where they need to be.
What role does the parents play in this, in their family as well?
The parents play a big role. However, children are not responsible for some of the parents that they end up with. And when I was working on my doctorate, there was a saying that's true, and I still stick to that, and that is, you have to, children that are struggling, children that are having a difficult time coming from certain homes, they're not responsible for what they bring with them. What they're responsible for is what they meet when they get to school.
Okay, and that's because people have to understand that children can't control the circumstances that they're born into.
That's
no
right.
more than a person who's born into privilege or born into good situations. Say, like my son is born into a good situation.
Right.
However, I was born into a
Yeah.
bad situation,
Yeah.
as you
Yeah.
well know.
Yeah.
And then it's my responsibility to make the next generation in our family better off.
Yeah.
Now, I said all that to say this. It's been well documented that my dad went to the 4th grade. My mom never finished high school, nor my dad. My mom went to about the 8th grade. And then they produced me. We had good structure in the family. The school that I went to wasn't the greatest schools in elementary school and so on and so forth. But as time went on, different teachers would take interest in me, and they put me in phonics classes and slow reading classes and all these other things that I was labeled as not being able to learn. But by those teachers putting me in these different, working with me, and certain teachers showing that sincere interest, I was able to, become a productive citizen. So, as you heard me say before, the children, many children are just dusty, and all they need is to be shined off, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then up underneath that dust, when you shine them off, you'll find those beautiful diamonds, and you can manifest that, and they can become what they become. So I like the point that you made, and people don't seem to realize that. So that takes extra work.
Yeah, it does.
Go ahead.
It does. And you need to realize, if a child has learned to stand and have not learned to walk well, it's going to be difficult with you trying to get them to run a certain distance.
Okay.
You got to do first things first. And they've got to experience some success. So what I did to turn things around as a 5th grade teacher at Franklin Park, we did an interest inventory. I found out the things that my children enjoyed. We went to the media center and got books in the areas they enjoyed on their level, 2nd grade, and we began to work there and then work our way up to 5th grade level.
Right.
See, and then it impacted and made a difference. We had people coming off from DOE, from Fort Lauderdale and everywhere to see what was going on at Franklin Park. Children were learning so much.
Every time I talk to you, I'm so happy to talk to you, because a lot of the principles that you talk about in terms of learning, they apply to a lot of other disciplines. in my case, I was never educated in the formal sense, but you know my reputation as a swimming instructor. So I always would get children who come from the inner city, and many times their parents and nobody in their family could swim. But I would meet them where they are, develop them as swimmers at where they are, and then they can build upon that. No hold, never in my mind, it ever crossed my mind that they weren't capable and that they weren't loved by me and that they could achieve anything that they wanted to in the water, and certainly the results came out from that. So I relate to you very well on that. Let's go to the fact that we now have as we speak, we have a chairman of the school board who's an African American, Gwen Gittens. What is that doing for us? Is that benefiting? Is that a positive thing? Talk about that.
Well, I tell you what it tells me. We have not arrived. The mere fact that she was chairman and she's the only African American, it takes more than one to accomplish anything. And to me, from what I've observed and going to, and I try to get to just about all of the school board meetings, she's very disrespected, to be absolutely honest with you.
By whom?
By the other board members.
Okay, go ahead.
And that says a lot all by itself. And she's tried to kind of hold her own now. Now, you know, she's no longer the chair.
They've already
because you hold it for so long and then you move on. But what you got to do is have grit. You just got to stand and do what you need to do, and let the chips fall where they may.
Okay, so that's a 4-year term.
Yeah. So she still got, I think,
positive progress.
Yeah.
But when you say she's not respected, give me for example. People right now leaning into the TV saying, hold up, Dr. Chapman's not sugarcoat this.
Listen, anybody that has gone into the meetings or watched them on TV, it's obvious. It's very obvious. And she's tried to handle it very professionally. And but to say that she need to stay in her lane and, you know, kind of those kinds of things, you know, that's just so unprofessional.
I got you. What does that say about what is that saying about Lee County or the Lee County School Board? Or
listen,
is that saying something?
Yes, this is a very racist county, and it's some good white folk. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm telling you that this county, you've got to be twice as good in whatever is going on in order for you to have an opportunity to move up. And it's sad, but that's just the way it is.
Amazing.
And I got all kind of examples of that. But you know, you do what you have to do, but you do what you can for children. And my backbone was I ended up, God blessed me with a husband that had been in the Army. And as a sergeant and the things he went through, he could understand what I was going through, and he was there to support me. So I didn't have to knuckle under. I could just stand flat-footed and say what I needed to say. When I talked to the superintendent and he would say, Shirley, what you think about this or that? I said, now, do you want to know what I think, or is it something you want to hear? Because those are totally two different things. And that's just the way I was. And you know,
Love it.
Yeah. And matter of fact, I ended up filing a complaint. I don't know whether you're aware of that, with EEOC. They came down, well, Miss Ida Baker, who
what year
a
are we
school
talking
is
about?
named.
People can have some context. This is in the 90s or 2000s?
No, this was around 2000.
Okay, go ahead.
But they named the school after her. She left and went to Tallahassee to work for Betty Casser when she was Secretary of Education. And she wrote me a letter and said that she was convinced that the people in Lee County wouldn't recognize talent if it slapped them in the face. And she sent a team of people down here, investigators, to investigate, and they went down and they checked all the personnel files to see how the blacks that were qualified to be administrators. Because at that time we had none, okay? And do you know, when they came down and investigated, they went around to all the schools that had people that qualified, and they came to Franklin Park to interview me. And the guy said to me, now let me tell you now, before you talk, I went to other administrators, and all of them refused to talk to us. Are you sure you want to talk to us? I said, if it doesn't help me, it'll help somebody. And when he named the people that wouldn't talk to him, I was absolutely shocked. But I went ahead and I did talk. And then the next day it was in the paper with my picture on the front page, Teacher Waits and Wonders. But when they went back to Tallahassee, in a few weeks' time, about 6 blacks had been promoted to administrative positions on my back. So when one of them said to me, Shirley, you've committed administrative suicide, I said, well, you need to be thanking me because you climbed up on my back to get where you are.
There you go. History, people. Only on Lead Pitch Live, you get the real truth. It stays in the history books for a long time to come. We're going to continue right now. Brandon, don't hit anything, please. Just relax. Okay, let's go back to, let's change topics slightly, because I'll be talking to you in the future. But I always want to get this on record that when we talk about the late, great city councilwoman Veronica Shoemaker and all the things that she did to help the city of Fort Myers become what it is today, as our young Rosa Parks back in the 60s and 70s. You told me the story about how she became interested in politics, and she was up north and you made that phone call and all that. I'm not gonna tell the whole story, but I'd like for this to be on record.
Yeah.
And give a little bit of background, and we'll talk about who she was as well.
Yeah.
So first of all, before we get into that, she ran for some type of political office as the first African American, and didn't get elected for, maybe what, 10 times or something like that?
Often, over and over and over. And the reason she ran it was because of me.
Mm-hmm.
I called, matter of fact, the Black History Society got an article in there now of it. But what happened is,
around 19.
I was working in the late 60s.
The late 60s.
I was working.
Segregated South.
I was working for 5 attorneys, and they said to me, Shirley, do you know a black female that we could get and groom in order to run? Because we feel like they'd stand a better chance than a male.
Right.
And I couldn't think of anybody except Veronica Shoemaker.
Wow.
So they told me to call her. She was in Port Huron, Michigan at the time with the family that she went up to be housekeeper for during the summer. And I called her and I said, Veronica, I'm calling you from my job. I said, I'm in here in the office with these attorneys. And they would like to consider helping you run for public office. I said, as a matter of fact, I said, they are willing to do campaign registration. And so she laughed. She said, Shirley, I said, no, I'm serious. Wow. And so she laughed and she said, well, if they really think, that would work, she said, I'd be willing. And we launched a campaign. It was one of the largest ones ever been held. We ended up getting 10,000 registered voters in this area. And when Veronica got back, and she started running. And she ran. And she ran.
And kept losing.
And she ran. And she ran.
African American people.
NAACP said they were going to file a complaint. And so they thought if she won, they'd drop the complaint. And so she ran that last time and she won, but we still kept the complaint going. That's why we have single member districts for the city of Fort Myers.
Right. So the NAACP was going to file a single member. We needed single member district because she was running for city council, but she had to get elected at large.
That's
Everybody
right.
in the city
That's
council.
Right. That's right.
In the city of Fort Myers,
That's
had the
right.
opportunity to vote for somebody who was not African American, even though the area that she really resided in was predominantly black.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And so by them electing her, they felt like, okay, well, we got through with that, right. but we weren't. We went ahead and pursued it anyway, and ended up getting the single member district.
And now, as a result of that, we have 3 African Americans on the Fort Myers City Council.
That's right.
And eventually, we may have a black mayor. Do you ever foresee that happening? I mean, we never thought we'd see a black president.
Could be. It could be. Yeah, it could be. And I, from what I understand, Mayor Henderson is not going to run anymore.
No.
But I know
for Congress.
Well, I can tell you this. as principal at Lee Charter Academy, and as anything I've done over the past so many years, I was always able to depend on him. So even when other people had a problem with him, I never did.
Mayor Henderson, you're getting a shout out here.
Yes,
that's good campaign stuff with your commercial there. Yeah. Randy Henderson running for commissioner.
Mayor Henderson, I would do whatever I can to help him because he helped me in anything, any endeavor that I was doing.
Well, that's the only way you can judge a person is by what they do when you call on them and how they respond to you. It's a person-to-person thing. Mm-hmm. And I echo what you say. On balance, Mayor Randy Henderson has been a very good mayor for the city of Fort Myers, has done his level best, in my view, to work closely with the African-American community, to return phone calls, to come into the community and do his best. So that's said by me as well.
Yeah.
Back to, as we wrap this up, back to the school board. What do people need to know right now going forward in terms of the Lee County School District that they need to get involved with? What's hot on the table?
First of all, they need to know that if they are not current for registering to vote, they need to get current because every vote counts, and they need to start being more visible. You know, and especially anything that's going on, you need to come to some of the board meetings. It would just be good to look out in the audience and see somebody there besides me and James Buchanan and Jerry Webb.
You say you don't miss them, huh?
Yeah, well, I try to get to just about all of them.
That's great. Everybody should go there. Show
at least, yeah. And one time when—
that's where you get respect.
Yes, that's right. And then you are knowledgeable about the issues, and you can always feel free to talk about it, or if you don't feel comfortable in talking about it, get with somebody else that can write it up and speak for you.
Outstanding. Here we're in December. We're getting ready to go into 2020. I want you to give some people advice, specifically the parents and guardians, on some things that they need to be doing with their children right now and ongoing to help them in the learning process.
Parents.
Turn off the TV first.
Parents, please select a certain time for that TV to be off and for a book to be in your child's hand. They need to read. And it can be something that they just enjoy reading, whether it's a comic book, whether it's a sports book, whether it's the Bible, whatever they enjoy reading.
That's right.
They need an opportunity to do that. And then when you sit down to eat, have a discussion. Find out, what did you do in school today? And when they tell you nothing, you need to check that out. What do you mean nothing? And get to the bottom of it.
What do you mean you don't have any homework?
Yeah, oh yeah, you got some. And like my mother used to say, if you don't have any, I'm going to give you some.
That's right.
So, yeah, that's real important, parents. And you can impact and make a difference with your child. And when you don't like the way something is going, or you're not sure from the answers he's gotten, get involved. Make a phone call. Get involved. And show up. Show up to activities and show up to whatever is going on at school.
Okay, and you're the first vice president in local branch of the NAACP branch of Lee County. First vice president, people. First vice president. Dr. Chapman, telling it like it really is. Dr. Chapman, thanks for stopping by again, talking to me as usual. You know you're my godmom.
You're so welcome.
Hey, my mom always told me to hang around influential people. I love hanging around the icon. The only person I call an icon. Tells it like it is. We'll be right back. Brandon, we'll be right back.